So this one is exercise one of metal. All MCQs are there in this exercise. And you can also use a chat mic also to state the answer. I'll try to discuss like at least a half of this exercise. Multiple choice questions are there. A student investigated the reaction of four metals R, S, T, and U with solutions of their salts, and the results are shown in the table. What is the order of reactivity of metals and most reactive first? Look, remember one thing, the most reactive, like a more reactive metal displaces the less reactive metal from its compound. So first we have R and we have S nitrate. Now S nitrate means like SNO3 example. It can be any metal. There is a reaction, so it displaces. It will become R nitrate plus S. So which is more reactive, R or S? R, because R is able to displace S. So means R should be above and S should be below. Then R with T. We have R and it is reacting with T nitrate. There is a reaction, means it will become R nitrate plus T separated. So again, which is more reactive? R is more reactive. So R is more reactive than S, and R is also more reactive than T. But we don't know between S and T which is more reactive, because there is no comparison here. S and U. So when S is with U nitrate, there is no reaction. So if there is no reaction, what this give an idea? It give an idea which is more reactive. U is more reactive. So this give an idea that U should be above. So U should be above, but we don't know whether T is above U, or we don't know about that. Then the next reaction, when you see the next reaction, T with U, T is there with U nitrate. So what will happen? There is a reaction. So it will become T nitrate plus U. So it means which is more reactive? T is more reactive. So means T should be above U. So when we sort out this reactivity, like this was S, then we were having U, and then T should be above U because T is able to displace. Then U and R, so U is not able to displace R, so it means U is less reactive than R. So what is the order of the reactivity? What order we get according to this information? The starting with the most reactive first. So first it should be R, then it should be T, then it will be U, and the last one should be S. So B should be the right answer. Is it clear, this one? Is it clear? Okay. The next one, three students X, Y, and Z were told that solid P react with dilute acids and also conduct electricity. The table shows the student suggestions about the identity of the P. Look, if we check the reactivity, like the reactivity series, we have potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, copper, mercury, silver, gold, and platinum. What is the position of a hydrogen? Hydrogen is between iron and lead. Lead and copper, sorry. And aluminium, carbon is there between aluminium and zinc. Now, these metals, they can react with dilute acids. Concentrated and dilute acid, they can react. But elements which are below, they cannot react with acid. So student was told that it can react with dilute acid. So dilute acid, copper cannot react. Mercury can, so it cannot be copper. Then what about Z? It's carbon. Reaction of a non-metal with acid is also not there. Because like example, you have a graphite, carbon is there. You don't find carbon plus HCl. No reaction. So non-metal also they react because non-metal or their oxides are acidic oxide. Acidic oxide cannot react with acids, or that's why they can only react with base. So graphite also, it can conduct electricity, but it cannot react. So what we are left with? We are left with a metal. So C should be the right answer. Why? Is it clear? So carbon, the graphite actually does not react because this is in terms of a reactivity position, not about like position, not position of a carbon in terms of reaction with acid. So carbon or a non-metal also no reaction, as well as copper, which is a less reactive, does not react with dilute acids. So it should be iron only. In question 3, which statement about the uses of the metal is correct? Aluminium is used in the manufacture of aircraft because of its strength and high density. No, not high density, it should be low density. The copper is used in electrical wiring because its strength and high density, not about the density, it's about conduction. Mild steel or a low carbon steel is used in manufacturing car bodies because of strength and resist to corrosion. Mild steel is not resist to corrosion, it can rust. Stainless steel is used in construction of a chemical plants because of its strength and it resists corrosion. That's right, because stainless steel does not. So the stainless steel uses for chemical plants, and because it has strength as well as it does not rust or resist corrosion. So D will be the right answer for this. Stainless steel is iron, nickel, chromium. Carbon is totally removed from it. This question is about the extraction of aluminium. The electrolysis of aluminium oxide is done, that is alumina. And we have molten cryolite. Which statement about the process is not correct? Aluminium ions gain electron during electrolysis and reduce. Look, what will happen in the electrolyte? We have aluminium ions. Aluminium ions are attracted towards the cathode. So when they are attracted towards cathode, the aluminium ions will gain electron or take electron and turn into aluminium atom. That's right. Are they reduced? Yes, they are reduced. This because it's a gain of electrons, so reduction is there. So this statement is correct. We want to identify which one is not correct. Cryolite is added to reduce the melting point of aluminium oxide. Is it correct, the use? Yeah, that's right. The purpose of a cryolite is used as a solvent to lower the melting point, increase the concentration of the ore. The anode and the cathode are made up of graphite. That's also true. Anode and cathode are made up of carbon. The cathode has to be replaced regularly? No. Anode has to be replaced regularly. Why? Because what will happen when oxide ions move towards anode? The oxide ions will form oxygen, and because of a very high temperature, the carbon at the anode will react with oxygen. As a result, it will form carbon dioxide. So we have to replace anode, not cathode. Anode we have to replace. That's why D is not the true right statement. We have the diagram shows an experiment to investigate how paint affects the rusting of an iron. Look, one is a painted, another one is not painted. So which one will rust? This will rust. When it will rust, for what it will do, it will take oxygen here from the air. and the water vapors. Water vapors are there already because air is there. So water vapors are there, but it will take oxygen. So amount of air will reduce. As the amount of air will decrease, what will happen to this level? This level will rise. Why it will rise? Why this level will rise? Because the oxygen is used up from the air. So if oxygen is used up from the air, the water level will rise. But what about painted iron? Because there is no rusting here, so there is no change in amount of the oxygen or air. As a result, this level will not change. So P will rise, the water level will rise because the oxygen is used from the air, and Q, there is no change because there is no rusting. Is it clear? Some student, they ask a genuine question, and I agree that with their point of view. Like there's some what they said that the total volume is same. If the total volume is same, with reference to that, if the total, because if the total volume is constant, so with reference to that, if the water level is rising here, the water level should fall here, according, because they're in the same container. So that is also correct, but with reference to the question, it's not the thing, because it's about amount of oxygen changes or air changes, then the water level will change. That's the idea, because the pressure from the air is not changing. So tube P, it will rise because of oxygen used up. For Q, there will be no change. Then this is about the thermal decomposition. I have just shared that table with you. If we decompose, actually you have to learn this. So if we have a magnesium nitrate, like we have a metal nitrate, if you supply heat energy to the magnesium nitrate, what it will result in a formation of magnesium oxide plus nitrogen dioxide plus oxygen. So it should give magnesium oxide plus nitrogen dioxide plus oxygen. So either A can be an answer or B. But when we heat their hydroxide, it will give metal oxide plus water. So if we are heating, even as an example, magnesium is already given here. So if we are heating magnesium hydroxide, we get magnesium oxide plus water or steam. And because of high temperature, it will be steam. And if we are heating magnesium nitrate, magnesium oxide, nitrogen dioxide, and oxygen. So which one match with the correct decomposition? So A matches magnesium, nitrogen dioxide, oxygen, and magnesium oxide and water will be there. In question 7, which property is not considered as a typical metallic property? Good conductor of heat, metallic property. Malleable, hammered into shape, strong, metallic. But low melting point is not a metallic. Even the group 1 alkali metals have low melting point. But typical metals, what are the typical properties of the metal? They should have a high melting point, usually have a high melting point because of strong electrostatic attraction between the lattice of the positive ion and the free electrons. Iron from the blast furnace is treated with oxygen. Like this is a basic oxygen furnace. What we do in a basic oxygen furnace, we blow the oxygen. It contains carbon impurities as well. And we add a calcium oxide. So calcium oxide to make steel, which substance in the iron is removed? Oxygen remove what? When we blow the oxygen, oxygen will react with carbon, and as a result, it will give carbon dioxide. So oxygen remove carbon. And calcium oxide, what? Because calcium oxide is a basic oxide. So basic oxide will react with an acidic oxide. So what impurities it will remove? Acidic impurities or acidic oxide. So A will be the, because calcium oxide, CaO, react with silicon oxide and it will form CaSiO3, slag, calcium silicate. Why is cryolite is used during extraction of aluminium by electrolysis? It is a catalyst. No, it's not to speed up a reaction. It lower the melting point of the electrolyte. That's true. It protect the anode, it separate aluminum from electrolyte, that's also wrong. So it lower the melting point or use as a solvent. These are the use of purpose of adding a cryolite in the extraction of aluminum. Then we have again 4 metals are there and we have to set up the reactivity. Remember one thing, if we more reactive metal have a greater tendency to form an ion or exist as an ion. So first, what this key is that if it's a thick, it means the reaction happen. If it's a cross, it means reaction does not happen. So P with Q, there is no reaction. P with Q. So which is more reactive, P or Q? So more reactive always exists as an ion or a greater tendency to exist as an ion. So it means Q is more reactive than P. Because if there is no reaction, just if the reaction happen, the one which is existing as an ion, that will be more reactive. Simple rule. If no reaction happen, it means the one which is already an ion is more reactive. Then P with R. P with R, there is a reaction. So if they react with each other, it will form P ion and it will form R atom. So because the reaction occurs, so we now check the product side. So which is more reactive? P is more reactive than R. So P is more reactive than R. Then P with S. So P with S, again there is a reaction, so it will become P ion and S. So which is more reactive? Again, P is more reactive. So P and S. We just have to check now between R and S, which is more reactive. If you see R does not able to react with any of them. Q is able to react with P, Q is able to react with R, Q is reacting with all, so Q is the most reactive. R is not able to react with any of them. So and S is able to react with one of them. So which is which is the least reactive in this order. So it means R should be the least reactive because R is not able to displace any of these ions. So what is the order of the reactivity of a metal? The most reactive first. So it should be Q, P, S, R. So it will be A. Is it clear, this one? In question 11, copper is a transition element which is used to make saucepans. Which property is not correct for copper? Good conductor of heat, insoluble in water. This is not correct, low melting point, because it's used as a saucepan, so it should have a high melting point, it should not melt. And to make a saucepan, it should be malleable, like hammered into shape. Aluminium is extracted by electrolysis of a mixture of aluminum oxide and cryolite. Which statement is not correct? Electrodes are made up of graphite, that's true. The formula of aluminum oxide is Al2O3. The purpose of a cryolite is to lower the melting point of the mixture. The reaction take place at anode. No, this reaction is not at anode. This reaction take place at cathode because aluminum is a positive ion. Positive ions are attracted towards cathode. So D is not the right statement. Metal X is added to aqueous solution of sulfate of Y. So we have metal X and we add it to the sulfate solution of a Y. A colored solution form and a metal Y means it will form X sulfate and it will form Y. And because this is a colored solution, what this give an idea, if it's a colored solution means X is a transition metal because transition element or transition metal, their compounds are colored compound. They form colored compound. So type of element, so X should be a transition. Why? Because it form X sulfate and that is a colored compound as I mentioned here. A colored solution form and a Y metal is deposited. And because the reaction happen or occur, so what it give an idea? It give an idea X is more reactive than Y. So X is a transition element and X is more reactive than Y. In question 14, element E forms an alloy. Element has a basic oxide. and it is below hydrogen in the reactivity. First, it cannot be sulfur or carbon because sulfur and carbon are the metals. Metals cannot, non-metals, sorry, cannot form a basic oxide. So we are left with copper and zinc. So which is below, because they can form alloy, they can form basic oxide. Zinc is actually forming amphoteric oxide. So we are left with only copper. Because zinc, this property, basic oxide, is not for zinc. It forms amphoteric. Zinc, aluminium, they form amphoteric oxides. Zinc metal is extracted from its ore zinc blende in a similar method that is used to extract iron. In which way extraction of a zinc differ from iron? The main difference is because it's about metal is removed in the form of vapor, but as I mentioned, the complete extraction of a zinc is removed. The experimental method is removed. So this question you will omit, okay? Because it's related to the experimental procedure. Question 16. Stainless steel is an alloy of iron and other metal. It is strong and does not rust, but it costs much more than a normal steel. What is not made from a stainless steel? Cutlery, yes, it's from stainless steel. Pipes in chemical factory or chemical plant. Saucepans also stainless steel. But railway lines, like because railway lines, as it is having a very high cost, the railway lines are not from stainless steel. Like otherwise, it will be too expensive to build a track for the train. Which process is involved in extraction of a zinc from a zinc blend? So cryolite, no, cryolite is not added. Molten zinc blend is electrolyzed. No, we don't do electrolysis. Zinc blend is heated with carbon. No, zinc blend is not initially heated with carbon. First, the zinc blend, which is a zinc sulfide, it is roasted in air. The first thing. Because like zinc blend is zinc sulfide. So zinc sulfide is not directly. First, we roasted in air to form zinc oxide and sulfur dioxide, and then the zinc oxide, which is extracted, can heated with coke or a carbon monoxide. Why C is not correct? Because it's written heated with carbon directly. It's not heated with carbon. It is heated with air first. Question 18. List of metals shown: aluminium, copper, iron, magnesium, silver, zinc. Which metal will displace all the other metals from their aqueous solution? Like which is a most reactive metal in this? So we have the reactivity series: potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, copper, mercury, silver, gold, and platinum. So which is the most reactive in this one? That is magnesium. You can see the top. There's no calcium given. So magnesium is there. So magnesium will displace all of them. Stainless steel is, this is a similar question, which is not made from a stainless steel. So railway lines are not, it's a repeated question. Railway lines are not from the stainless steel. Which equation for extraction of a zinc shown metal being produced by reduction? So which one is showing a reduction happen? So reduction is like removal of oxygen. So the first one, as we remove oxygen from the zinc, that is called a reduction. The section of a reactivity series shown included a newly discovered element X. So this X is between iron and hydrogen, okay? The only oxide of X has a formula XO. So if the oxide is having a formula of XO, so oxygen is having a valency of -2, so X should have a valency of +2 because they should have the same valency. That's how the formula will become X2. Otherwise, if it was +1, then what should be the formula for X? It should be H2O. But it is XO means the valency is +2. Now, which equation shows a reaction which occur? X is more reactive than copper or hydrogen, so X can only displace copper ion. So if we have X metal and we were having a copper ion, then it will form X ion and it will form a copper metal because X is more reactive than copper, so X will displace copper ion from the solution form X ion and copper metal. So this is wrong because here copper is reacting. Here X is reacting with copper ion and producing X ion. X ion is there and a copper metal is produced. Okay. And section of reactivity, the only oxide of X has a formula of X. Okay. So the charge now, when you check this one, why this equation is not correct? If you see the charge on X, the reaction can happen, but why this is not correct? But the charge on the X is here is written +1. It should be +2. Why it should be +2? Because the oxide of the X has a formula of XO. If it has an oxide formula XO, so X should be +2 and O should be -2. So that's why this equation is wrong in terms of charge on X. Then X cannot displace iron because X is less reactive than iron. It cannot. But X can react with acid or displace hydrogen because X is more reactive than hydrogen. It's above hydrogen. So X can displace hydrogen. It will form a salt plus hydrogen. So D should be the right answer. Is it clear, this question? So why B was not correct? Because it was forming X plus 1 ion. It should be X plus 2 ion as it is forming an oxide. Impure iron from a blast furnace is converted into a steel as shown. A molten iron is there. Which statement about the process is correct? So acidic oxides are added. No, acidic oxides are not added. Coke is added. No, coke is not added. Oxygen is blown into oxidize the impure iron. No, it's not impure iron. It is not oxidizing iron. Steel is produced contain less carbon. Why? Because oxygen react with carbon, give carbon dioxide, so steel will have a lower percent. Why this is wrong? Oxygen is blown, but it does not oxidize iron. It oxidizes carbon because carbon react with oxygen, give carbon dioxide. Iron is not oxidized. Iron remain there. So the main reaction is between carbon and oxygen. Then again, you have to sort out the reactivity. So between P and Q, which is more reactive? Q, because it is exist. So Q is more reactive than P. Between R and P, because the reaction happens, so which is the ion? R is ion, so R is more reactive. So R should be more reactive. P is there, but we don't know. So R is more reactive. R can be anywhere. We don't know. Between Q and S, which is more reactive? Q is more reactive. Between S and P, which is more reactive? S, because so it means S is more reactive. S should be above P. Between S and R, which is more reactive? S is more reactive. So means S will be here and R will be here. And between S and Q, which is more reactive? Q is more reactive. So it will be Q S R P. Q S R P, so it matches with C. So simple way to identify if there is no reaction, check the reactant which is ion is more reactive. If there is a reaction, check the product which is ion is more reactive. Because a more reactive exists as an ion. If the reaction happens, check the product. If reaction does not happen, check the reactants, which is existing as an ion. So this was the exercise. I have solved like almost half of this. So this page we'll discuss and then we'll end the session. Aluminium is extracted by electrolysis. What is the name of ore? That is bauxite. And where aluminium is deposited, aluminium is a positive ion, so it is attracted towards the negative or a cathode. Zinc oxide can reacted with carbon to produce zinc metal. Which equation for this reaction? So zinc oxide plus carbon gives zinc plus carbon monoxide. So the idea is that the equation must be balanced. If you see this equation is correct, but it's not balanced. Oxygen are 2 here, oxygen is 1. Here, zinc oxide plus carbon gives zinc and carbon dioxide, so equation must be balanced. But if you see this 2 oxygen here, and we have 2 multiplied by 2, 4 oxygen, so equation is not balanced. Equation is correct, but not balanced. So zinc oxide plus carbon gives zinc and carbon monoxide, so this equation is balanced. This equation is correct, but it is not balanced. Impurities in the iron obtained from a blast furnace include carbon, phosphorus, and silicon. Which impurities are removed from a molten iron as a gas when it is made into steel? So which impurities are removed? Because like silicon oxide or phosphorus oxide, they will react with calcium oxide to form slag. Slag it can be skimmed off from the surface. But carbon dioxide, which is formed, because the carbon impurity like carbon react with oxygen give carbon dioxide, that will escape the furnace in the form of gas. The phosphorus and silicon oxides, which react with calcium oxide to form a slag, which we just skimmed off from the surface. Y displaces X from an aqueous sulfate. So Y displaces X from its aqueous sulfate. So it means Y is more reactive than X. X does not displace W from its sulfate, so means W is more reactive. X displaces Z from the sulfate, so X displaces Z from its sulfate, so it will form X sulfate plus Z, not Zn, it's Z here. So which is more reactive? It give an idea X is so, and what is the order of the reactivity between X, Y, W, X, Y, and Z? So Y displaces X. So Y displaces X, so Y is above X. Okay. Then X not able to displace, so means W will be above X. Then X displaces Z, so that should be the least reactive. So the least reactive should be Z. So which one least reactive is Z? We have this. Then it should be X. So then it will be X. Then between W and Y, there is no information about W and Y, but you can see the order. This follow the order. Y, X, and Z, and then W will be there. So B should be the right answer. So these are the questions from this metals, topic 1, the MCQs, about 62 questions are there and all from metal. It's an important topic. So I discuss first 9 pages. One of the pages is empty. So first 9 pages I have discussed with you. You will solve and submit this as a homework.